and welcome back to another gluten-free and yeast-free baking video. How are we doing today? Today I'm going to be making gluten-free luxury mince pies. The reason that these are luxury mince pies is because I've actually enriched the pastry dough. I love mince pies, they're one of my favourite things and the perfect thing to get me into the Christmassy mood. Other than Christmas music, of course. And I am now so glad that I have my own recipe so that I don't need to go and buy some in the shops. I can just make them myself. Oh, it's great. Just to let you know that my dog Magic is down here with me, so in case you hear background noise during the making of this video, that is what it is. But to continue with this video, you will be needing the following equipment. Scales, measuring spoons, a pastry brush, a knife, some Christmas cookie cutters. I've chosen a Christmas tree, but you can use a star. It is just to decorate the top of your mince pies. Some round cookie cutters. You'll need these to match the size of the hole that you're going to be putting your mince pies into. A spatula, some baking paper, a rolling pin, a large mixing bowl, a sieve, some spray oil, a shallow baking tray or a mince pie baking tray. I don't really know what the name of this is, but I did find some mince pie baking trays when I looked online, so I think that's what this is, I don't know. And finally, a cooling rack. You will also be needing the following ingredients. For your pastry, you will be needing 200 grams of gluten-free plain flour, 2 tablespoons of caster sugar, 110 grams of butter that is cold. It has to be cold for this recipe, and I like to use lactose-free butter. Some milk. You will be needing enough to equal 4 to 6 tablespoons, and I like to use lacto-free milk. And 1 medium-sized egg beaten. You will only be needing this when you are cooking the pastry. For your filling, you will be needing some mincemeat. I'm not going to give you an exact measurement because it totally depends on how much you want in each individual one. And for your decoration, you will be needing some icing sugar. You can also use the icing sugar to roll out your pastry, or you can use extra flour. It's completely up to you which one you prefer to use. Let's go! First things first, measure out all of your ingredients so that they're completely ready for you to use. And the first thing we're going to do is actually prepare our tin. You won't be needing the oven till a lot later, so I'm not going to bother going through it with you now. So to prepare our tin, we are going to be needing our shallow baking tray, our mince pie baking tray, I don't even know what to call it, our tray, I'll call it tray, and our spray oil. So now that we've got our tray and our spray oil, we're simply just going to give the tray a quick spritz. Much like the donut trays, we're going to make sure that every crevice is covered. Just to make it easier when the pies are finished cooking, I guess. I know, I don't guess. Now that this is done, we are going to place this off to the side until we're ready to bake. Okay, so now that we've finished doing all that nasty prep work, it is now time to begin making our pastry. So the first step in doing this is to mix together our caster sugar and our gluten-free plain flour. So we're going to put all of that in there, all of the sugar into our flour, sorry. And we're going to mix these together until they are well combined. You will notice that I'm not using my trusty spatula for this. That is because this is a absolute hardship to mix with that thing, so I'm just doing it with this. Plus I'm going to be using this later for the milk, so it's all going to go together anyway. Okay. Now that this is done, grab your large mixing bowl, your spatula and your butter. So now that we have got our butter, our spatula and our mixing bowl, we are going to add all of our butter to our mixing bowl. That is nice and cold and basically rock hard. Come on, love. And flattening it as much as possible. I don't know, I think this might help. I'm not excellent at this, guys. I just try and come up with something that can help. And now, after removing our hand jewellery and washing our hands, we are going to add all of our flour mix to our mixing bowl. And now, after my flour mixture has completely covered my butter, we are going to rub these together until they start to resemble breadcrumbs. This is important as there is a time when it will start to form together in your hands. At that point, stop, okay, because it will just not work. Trust me, I've been there. So let's get on with it. And I think that we are about there. So I'm going to stop now. So now that this is done, I'm going to grab my milk and my tablespoon. I forgot to mention that you'll also be needing your knife for this part. I've been doing a lot of filming and a lot of behind the scenes things today, guys. I'm all over the place, forgive me. So now that I have my milk, I'm going to add a tablespoon at a time of the milk to my mixture. And then using my trusty knife, I'm going to cut that milk through my mixture until it starts to resemble a small ball. Now between a pastry ball, dough ball, something like that, between each addition of milk and after cutting it through, I'm going to scrape down the sides of my mixing bowl just to see how it's coming together. Plus that means I don't have to touch it again after cleaning my hands after the last go. But you know, you may need 4 to 6, you may need 2, you may need 3. It completely depends on what is going on in your environment. So let's just get on with it. Come on, love. There we go. And knife it through. Right, let's see how that's got on. This isn't going to form the ball, but I just want to see how it's going. Nope, definitely needs more. Number 2. Right, see how this one is. Oh, well, you're getting there. See how it's starting to form a bit? It's not fully there, I would say, because it's still falling apart underneath. Is it? No, I'm going to add an extra one in. Just to be on the safe side. That was a terrible accent, I apologise. Okay, number 3. Ooh, I'm rocking the whole thing. Okay, nice and precise. Okay, let's bring it all together, just make sure. There we go. Yeah, that's definitely a dough ball. Get you little runaway. Okay, let's have a feel. Yes! Yes! Definitely there. Okay, let's pop this back and continue with the next bit. Now that we have done this and it is looking just perfect, grab your baking paper. So now that we have our baking paper, we are going to roll out our baking paper just to about the size that will fit this dough. Tear that off because we're going to wrap the dough in this. Now come on, don't mess me around. You there. You there. Stop it. And now we're going to place our dough into our baking paper. Wrap it up. You can flatten it if you want, there's no problem with that. I do it, I don't do it. It's completely up to you. So now we're going to place our pastry into our fridge for a minimum of half an hour, although I have had to leave it in for an hour and a half. I am going to leave mine in the fridge until basically an hour and a half or earlier. I'm going to check it every half an hour. The reason that I knew that it was ready, and I'm not an expert, guys, the reason I knew it was ready is when I pushed it there was resistance. Right now it's just going straight through it. But when I pushed it after an hour and a half, there was resistance. But it just, again, it depends on your pastry, your environment, how cold your fridge is, you know. So just do it in for half an hour minimum. Check it, see how you get on, and I'll see you after however long this takes to harden for me. My pastry is practically finished hardening. It did take an hour and a half for mine. There is something going on with my fridge. I have no idea what's going on with it. But it is now time to preheat our oven. So preheat your oven to 200 degrees C on a conventional oven, 180 degrees C on a fan oven, or gas mark 6. Now that your ovens are preheating, grab your pastry from the fridge. So now that we've got our pastry, we are going to unwrap it. Looking lovely. And see what I mean about it being hard, but you can still press into it. That's what you need. That is exactly what you need. So now grab some baking paper, some flour or icing sugar, whatever you're going to use to roll this out, and a rolling pin. So now we are going to take some baking paper, a bit wider than what you've done for the pastry. Tear it off, and I'm actually going to, now this is going to be a bit difficult. Okay, I'm going to paste this pastry here, roll this out. Actually, I'm going to use my icing sugar bowl for decoration later on. And now sprinkle some flour on top of the baking paper. Spread that out. You can do this on a chopping board as well, or work surface if you find that to be easier. It's completely up to you. Okay, so now I'm going to place my pastry on top. And then with either the top of the baking paper or just your rolling pin, begin rolling out your pastry as thin as you like. I'm going to do mine for about ½ centimetre, I think, because that's the kind of size I like eating of pastry. The thickness of pastry. Making sure to keep your rolling pin well floured, because otherwise it will just go and tear the pastry and it will just go completely wrong, which isn't useful. Another good thing about the baking paper method, actually, for me, is that I can now spin this. There we go. So it's these bits I need covered. That's about 1 centimetre, I would say. Now, how long is a centimetre? About that big? No, I'd say that's about ½ centimetre. Okay, so now grab your mince pie cooking tray and your round cookie cutters. So now cut out your shape and place that into your the baking tray. Pressing lightly in the middle and squidging the rest around it as you push down, so that you don't tear it, but you do take it down with you. See, now this is why we put the oil on. So 1, it's easier for this to slide down, but 2, it's easier to take it out once it's finished cooking. Okay. Okay. Now, that may seem a bit thick to you guys, but that's just what I like. So do it on personal preference. It's completely up to you. Cut out your remaining shapes. I'm going to do 6 out of this because I think that's all it will do, plus topping, plus a little design on the top. So, I mean, it depends on how much pastry you're willing to make. If you want to make more, double the recipe. If you don't, you don't. It's completely up to you. Right, I need 1 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 1 more. Or, you know, hang on, where's my cutter? Here's my cutter. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tell you what, I'm going to roll it out, I'm going to see how I get on, and then I'll decide whether or not if I'm going to do another one. I think it's just better possibly to roll it out thinner. I don't know why I can't ever just work that out in my head. So, you don't want to watch me re-roll this again, so re-roll your pastry and I'll see you after that. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut out the 5 that I've got, re-roll it again and see if I've got room for another one. Because I just don't know. I think I've rolled these too thick. I think that's what I've done. But I've got enough for 5 toppers, so I'm going to give that a go. So 1. Oh, let's pop you here. And 6. Right, so I have enough for 6 toppers. And I think that, as it is, rolled out, is going to equal enough for another one. If not, I'm just going to leave it. So again, I'm going to re-roll this out and I will see you after. Oh, where's my spare bit of baking paper? Here it is. Let's place these little guys off to the side so that I know they're done. And then I can use them when I'm ready. I think that's the first smart idea I've had all day. Okay, let's pop you in. And shoot-tang. Right, where am I going to put you? Oh, I should have been cleverer about this. Let's pop you here. Let's pop you here. Okay. Right. That has somehow worked. I don't know how, but I'm quite impressed. So I'm going to move this pastry that's here off to the side because I don't really know what to use it for. There's enough there to do another one, but I don't think there's enough to do another topper. So I'm actually just going to leave this and you guys can do whatever you like with it. You know, make little nuggets and just, or even just more Christmas trees, put them on the side. You know, it's completely up to you, but I'm going to leave it there because I don't want to push my luck. So now that we've done all this, our pies are in here and our little toppers are here. We are going to clear up our work surface, put things into the wash and grab our mincemeat and a tablespoon because, you know, got to get it in there somehow. Okay, so now that we've got everything in front of us, including our mincemeat, a tablespoon, our toppers and our mince pies, we are going to open our jar of mincemeat. Oh, I didn't make the noise. That's a shame. And I'm going to add a tablespoon to each. You can put more, you can put less, it's completely up to you. But I'm hungry, so I'm going to add a lot. That's 1 tablespoon. No, I'm going to do 1 tablespoon in all of them and see how I get on. Now I'm going to fill some of these up because for some reason the tablespoon didn't. I mean, I just love a lot of filling to pastry. But then I like a lot of pastry, so it's kind of doing myself a problem, if I'm honest. I think one of the best things about this is that because there's no measurement to it, if someone doesn't like a lot and you're making it for like 1 each for a specific person, so say you've got 6 people coming over and one person likes a lot of mincemeat and another person doesn't like a lot of mincemeat but loves mince pies, you can add as little or as much as you want, and then you could do, that's a great idea, you could do the person's initial as the topper. That is amazing. I so should have thought of that. What is going on with me today? Honestly. To be fair, I have been doing this since about 9 o'clock this morning. So, you know, needs must. Right, that's it. I'm not filling anymore. So now we're just going to place our toppers on top. I've done a Christmas tree. You can do a star. That's quite popular. You could do a Santa hat. Again, be original. Do whatever you want. Do people's initials. Do your own initials. It's completely up to you. This is your thing. I'm just I'm giving you the tools. What you decide to do with it is up to you. So don't forget, and I will say this at the end, don't forget to send me your lovely messages telling me how you did this and showing me the pictures on Instagram. And the last little guy. Oh, the other side that is really good is that if one side is quite, where I've got a nail in, you can always flip it over and use the other side. Didn't realise that till just now, but never mind, we're going to go with it. Okay, I'm so happy with these. So now we are going to need to grab our beaten egg and our pastry brush. So now that we've got our beaten egg, our pastry brush and our pies are still here, we're just going to give them all a quick brush with some beaten egg, funnily enough. This is just to give it a nice glossy sheen, and you want to do this all over the top and the sides. Now, normally when I'm making a pie, I would top it with caster sugar. But because at the end of this we're going to be putting some icing sugar on top to make them look even prettier than what they're going to look, not really much point. I mean, if you don't like icing sugar and you want to do that, go right ahead. I'm not going to stop you. Do it. Do you, as I like to say. Do you. Be you. Be brave, be happy, be kind, be you. That is exactly what I want. So, now that they are done, we are going to place them into the oven for 15 to 20 minutes until you press down on the Christmas trees on top and there's no give, it's completely solid. After they are out of the oven, we are going to place them onto a cooling rack to cool completely in their tray. Now that our mince pies are out of the oven, cooled and looking gorgeous, it is now time to decorate them. So for this we're going to be needing our sieve and our icing sugar. So now that we've got our icing sugar and our sieve, we are going to, now I've done this too much before, but we are going to place our mince pie on a plate like I have already. Tip some of the icing sugar, and I mean some, not all. Oh, mate. There we go. I do have clean hands. A little bit of icing sugar on top, and we're just going to tap it all over the mince pie. There we go. Now that's actually possibly a bit too much, but you know, it's done. Decorate the rest of your mince pies and I will see you after that. And that is it. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out all the links in the description, as I love them all and wouldn't put them there if I didn't, including the recipe for these lovely mince pies and my shop where you will be able to buy all of the flour and equipment you will need for this recipe. If you do make these at home, don't forget to tag me on Instagram and use the hashtag bakingwithvickiie so I can see all your lovely creations and topping ideas. Let me know in the comments of anything else you'd like to see me make, gluten or yeast free, as I do both. And finally, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you next time. Bye!